Listen. So I don't know how many of you guys have tuned into previous live streams that I've done, but pretty much if you've never joined one of these, every Friday we fail at doing a live stream, so it usually ends up happening on another day. But I wanted to combine something since we're still in January at the beginning of 2020, and there's been a couple of movies that I missed, and I have them over here. If I pull them up, Letterbox right here. This is a private list, but pretty much what I wanted to do, if you haven't followed any of these live streams, I like talking about the movies of the week that have come out, since I know sometimes Let Me Explain take a little bit long to do. This past week, I think we had Bad Boys for Life, which is the third one. There was also a really bad movie that came out, Doolittle, which was terrible. So instead of talking about those movies, since we have videos in the works, I decided that last year there was a bunch of movies that I didn't get to make a full video on, but still wanted to kind of mention them. That doesn't mean that they were terrible. Some of these movies I actually really like, and some of these I will be making a full video on eventually, but I decided that what better way to talk about them than to talk about them right here in a little live chat with you guys as well. So for those of you who are joining me in the live chat, I appreciate you guys. See you guys popping up right there. Let me read some. That's one of the other things that I wanted to add with it, since I think I have around, what does it say right here? 70 or 86. Yeah, some of them don't even have it that I have actually watched them. But I have around 86 movies that I wanted to talk about. So I just figured just spend the Sunday. Maybe you're watching the football game. If you are, that's completely okay. But I figured that I'd spend this little live stream talking about the movies that I know a lot of people ask us if we've seen. Maybe you have something in the script or in the chat that you have a question on or want to bring up, or nonetheless, there you go. You just appear in a little Let Me Explain videos. We talk about movies, which I think is it's kind of cool. I used to actually do the live streams on Sunday, but now I do it on Friday. So let's just get into it. Shout out to everybody who's in the chat. Let me know your thoughts on some of these movies. We got a couple to cover. I know that a bunch of people in the chat are probably going to ask me about movies that I have already mentioned. I have a bunch of must-watches. You can go to the playlist that we have there. Probably mentioned it there, but there's something that sticks out. And if I see the comment, I'll mention it. So let's start off with one I didn't really care for, but man, our fans from Climax. Yo, you Climax fans love this movie. I have a couple of friends who do really like it as well. But some of the, to me, this is a masterfully made film that made me want to throw up. I actually do want to make a full video on this as well as The Lighthouse, because this was one of those movies, if you've ever seen anything coming from Gaspar Noé, that he's a great filmmaker who it feels like one of the things that he wants to do is just piss you off. And that's what I got out of this movie. I came out of this movie completely nauseous. As you can see right there, young dancers gathered in a remote and empty school building to rehearse on a cold and wintry night. The all-night celebration soon turns into a hallucinatory nightmare when they learn that their sangria has been laced with LSD. I would recommend this to anybody who wants to have a completely and utterly terrible time just for their afternoon, but actually wants to see a pretty well-made film. That's one of the reasons why I want to rewatch this one, but I'm actually freaked out to rewatch it. Because it makes you feel like you're hallucinating with them, which, again, I can't really give it a negative. I give it 3.5 stars because I think it's 3.5 stars of filmmaking. I ain't like it, so that's 1.5 stars off. One of the other movies that I have over here made a couple of bucks last year. It's called Avengers Endgame. I didn't get to make a movie for this one, or a movie, Let Me Explain for this one, because I was actually away. I was in New York. And it's very interesting because I'm pretty sure if I were to say, where were you when you saw Avengers Endgame, if you care for it, you would probably remember what theater you saw it in. And I think that's a really big deal, because I remember what theaters I've seen Star Wars in, for the most part, all of the other Avengers movies as well. But for this one, I ended up in some like random theater in New Jersey, but it wasn't going to ruin the experience. Lady took forever to ticket us in and all that stuff. This lived up to the hype for me. I think a lot of people hate the Marvel movies because of the big blockbusters that they are, but we're always going to have big blockbusters. As I've said multiple times in the past, I prefer having the Marvel movies, even if you think they suck. There's no way they are worse than the Michael Bay movies we were getting all the time. But I thought it was a pretty good movie. Not in my top favorites. It's in my must-watch in terms of like probably blockbusters and action movies, but it was one that I missed. I will be making a movie or a video on that one as well. Then there is Us. I really like Us. I didn't give it a 0. If I were to rate it right now, I don't really know what I've given this movie so much time. The thing about it is that I have actually, whenever it comes to a director that I like, and I love Jordan Peele. I freaking love Jordan. I love Get Out. Love Get Out. I would make another Let Me Explain on Get Out and just talk about how I do think this movie deserved the Oscar that it got in screenwriting. I think Daniel Kaluuya gives a fantastic performance. But Us, man. I don't know about Us. Again, I will be making a video on this one as well. I just know these are like super late. The thing with Us, and I'll put it to you this way: I think that a lot of the themes and a lot of the horror elements to it kind of like clash on each other. I think it's a fun horror movie, and I really like the themes that the movie has. I just don't think that they mesh as well as something like Get Out did and what he was able to do with that film. But there's just, I don't know. It wasn't for me, but one of the best things that, the best way that someone has put it for me is that Parasite does this movie better. You just didn't need to go, you didn't need to go underground to get a good version of Us. You need to go overseas. Let me see. Read some of the comments. Parasite versus Us. There you go, Christian Jimenez. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Us is awesome. I know a lot of people love Us. That's the thing about it. I know when I finally make the video for Us, man, I am going to get pooped on. But we'll see. We'll see. I've seen it enough. I've even bought the movie, and it still isn't for me. Dr. Sleep. Also not for me, but I give it 3 stars because I do like Mike Flanagan, and by like Mike Flanagan, it's not even on here, the one that I like. I don't like most of his movies, but I do like the TV show that he made, the Netflix Haunting on Hill House. We made a whole video on it. I personally really like that series. Dr. Sleep, I like half of it. I like half of it because the other half of Dr. Sleep tries to be a sequel to The Shining, and that legitimately pisses me off. To be honest with you, I would take it 1 star off, one more star off just because of that alone. But I'm waiting to rewatch it again. I want to hear all the behind the scenes because I know that they went to like painstaking detail. Not that that's going to give him more credit because I think it's scummy to give Stanley Kubrick a Twitter account and then think that that's just going to like the dude's passed. The man wasn't around for Twitter. He's not gonna know what's going on over there. But I do like some of the direction in this movie. But instead of it being a Dr. Sleep movie, I think that they should get Mike Flanagan to make a American Vampire movie. That's what he should be doing. Because for Dr. Sleep, why would you touch something from a project from a man he ain't even here with us anymore? Don't try to make a sequel to The Shining. That's probably the most disgusting part of it because that was the goofiest part. Trying to have a woman. Hold on, I don't even know who they had playing. They had someone in here trying to play Mary. It's not gonna pop up. It's not like IMDb. My bad. But they had someone playing Mary Shelley or Shelley Duvall's character from The Shining. When this girl came in trying to dress like Shelley Duvall, do the Shelley Duvall shuffle, absolutely not. Ugh, not for me. Zombieland Double Tap. It's fine. It was interesting to see this open up at the Chicago International Film Festival because it's one of those things, if you've ever been to a film festival, where they'll like show a movie on a Wednesday for like $25 a ticket because it's a part of a festival. And then this thing opened like the next day. Like, what was the point of that? So I just saw it and then just said I saw it as a part of the Chicago International Film Festival. This thing keeps popping like this. But I didn't really care for it. I think one of the biggest parts that a lot of people were complaining about with this movie was the cameo appearance towards the end, where a lot of people did not like everything that was happening with the... I don't really want to spoil the cameo, but there's an after credit sequence that happens. I just don't think they did anything near to like put this... it was a decent comedy, but not as good a comedy as the original. So I don't think it was worth it. Let me see what else I have over here. The Fire Festival, yo. So there's 2, and I think I have the other one somewhere over here as well. The Fire Festival movies. I think I preferred... The thing with it is I think most people preferred the Netflix one over the Hulu one, but in reality, I think they complement each other pretty well, but I also think that they're both the scummiest things that have ever been out there. I think they're really good documentaries, but the problem with both of these is it kind of feels like there's also a conspiracy in whether the Fire Festival was a disaster so that later they could make documentaries about it. Like it's some absurd stuff. But if you haven't seen these, I feel like you have tough pills to swallow if you haven't seen them, but they're pretty good. Always Be My Maybe. I did want to cover this one. This one I thought was pretty dope. Always Be My Maybe was a Netflix movie starring Ali Wong and Randall Park. It has some hilarious scenes. It's reunited after 15 years. Famous chef Sasha and Hopetown musician Marcus feel the old sparks of attraction but struggle to adapt to each other's worlds. I thought this was hilarious. I thought it was very heartfelt. I like the cameos that were also in this one as well. And I think this was one of those little underrated gems. I wouldn't even say underrated because I think a lot of people liked it, like 3.2. Gave it a 3.5. It's not really that far off, from my opinion. But I thought this was a really cute movie. It's on Netflix. Netflix also had some really depressing romance movies that were out this year. So this one was more on the lighter side. And I thought it was pretty funny as well. Triple Frontier. Oh, my goodness. See, sometimes I like the visual effects of a movie. My girlfriend, she loved the visual effects in this movie. Very good-looking dudes. pretty good movie, solid movie. Another Netflix movie that I would have given it 3 stars to, but I liked it. I think it's a 3-star movie because of the script, but the actors, the way that it's directed, I think it's a pretty solid. I don't know what is this considered, a thriller, a genre. Let me see, action, or adventure, crime, action, thriller. There you go. I would consider it a pretty good thriller. That's what I would say. I don't know what else to add to this. I guess that's why a lot of these I don't really have a full thing to make a video on because I don't have much more to add to it. So there's that one. Fighting with My Family. Oh, I love this movie. Fighting with My Family was a Sundance movie, believe it or not, that actually was one of the surprise screenings. And one of the reasons why we didn't want to go to it was because we thought, Fighting with My Family. Then we actually caught it when it came out, and it was pretty good. On top of that, Fighting with My Family has Florence Pugh, who would go on to have a freaking incredible year. Obviously, my favorite's from her with Midsommar, but you almost don't even recognize her in this movie. I thought it was fantastic, based off of a true story. Obviously, some changes there. Stephen Merchant actually directed, and if you don't know, this is this guy right here. I think most of you may have recently seen him in. Oh, there he is, Jojo Rabbit. So Nazi in Jojo Rabbit. So was that as well. But I really did like this movie. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. The Rock does a decent part in it. But Florence Pugh, again, if I had to recommend anyone because of the movie, Florence Pugh. Child's Play. I had an entire thing for Child's Play that I wanted to do. And I saw all of them. Like, this was going to be like a Child's Play explained in 25 minutes, covering every single Child's Play. May have to save it till the next time. Because I wasn't able to finish it. But this was enjoyable. The thing about this Child's Play is that I don't think it should have been a Child's Play movie. It's a good movie that just decides to change the mythology of it being like a curse, and it turns it into like an AI thing. And I think that's a very good like story to play off of. You even have Mark Hamill voicing Chucky this time, Aubrey Plaza playing a young mom over here, Brian Tyree Henry, who continues to get cast in these big like franchise movies, but they don't give him much to do. He had a little bit more to do here than he did in Joker, but Child's Play I thought was a good movie. Again, probably not the best Chucky movie because they just decided to do something different with it. While the people who did the original Chucky, the original Child's Play, are still working on their version. They want to do like a TV show, so I don't know why this came out. I think that is kind of scummy. Again, I'm not blaming like the directors for this. It feels like a studio type of thing, and they tried going somewhere else, and I think like that was part of the reason why they didn't want it to be the original type of story that the original one had, and they turned it into an AI thing. But I still think it's a good movie. 6 Underground. This is why I'm so happy that Michael Bay is no longer making movies on theaters, and he no longer has to assault our senses there. 6 Underground, I don't know what it's about, but Ryan Reynolds has a line where he literally goes, "You only have one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime." And then Dr. Dre looks at him and he's like, "Bro, are you quoting 8 Mile?" And at that point, I'm not even going to lie. I will never review a movie if I haven't finished watching the movie. One day I will finish watching 6 Underground. Guava Island. I don't know what he was doing here. It feels good, but it doesn't make any sense. And I saw it with a friend who, she's from the Caribbean, and she was like, I don't know what accent this man is doing. He ended up winning a Grammy Award for one of the songs they had in here. Obviously, This Is America. But Guava Island is this mixture of Childish Gambino did this thing with Hiro Murai, who I really love. He is a fantastic director. I'm not sure because he does mostly TV, but Hiro Murai is incredible at what he does. He's done Atlanta. He's done some incredible episodes for Barry, and he decided for whatever reason and I'm talking bad about it, but that's just because it was like a very artsy concept. I think Childish Gambino has moments where he gets a little too pretentious, and this may have been one of them. As you know, before he became like a really big black icon, a lot of people didn't like him because he did have this whole thing of "if I was a white man" or something, very misinterpreted as well. But with Guava Island, he tries to mix like island culture with a bunch of American stuff. It makes no sense. A lot of the songs that are happening in here, it turns out to be like a musical or something. Like the sound is coming from somewhere else. Very artsy. I appreciate the attempt. I love Hiro Murai. It's cool to see Rihanna acting because I know she's been doing a big transition over to movies as well. This one didn't work for me, but watch Atlanta if you haven't. I like this one a lot. I don't even know why I didn't give it a like. Right there. Boom. Live right there. High Flying Bird. During an NBA lockout of sports agents, Ray Burke presents his rookie client, Eric Scott, with an intriguing and controversial business opportunity. This whole movie is done by Steven Soderbergh, who tends to do like 2 movies a year. Let me see what he did this year. This year, I know. Oh, last year he had done Unsane. something else. Oh, this year he did a High Flying Bird in the Laundromat. You got to remember, this man got nominated for Aaron Brockovich, all right, and Traffic the same year for directing. It said Aaron Brockovich, director, nominated for director, Aaron Brockovich in Traffic. And then he lost to himself because he won for the other. Like, that's insane to me. This guy's a living legend. Steven Soderbergh has retired like more times than Brett Favre. He's here. He made 2 movies this year, and he shot one of them on an iPhone. This is a movie dealing with the NBA lockout, shot on an iPhone, talking about how Andre Holland does a fantastic performance with this. This is a movie that's talking about how NBA players are literally owned. Like, you've seen NBA players can't put like tattoos on themselves because they're going to be captured for the NBA, and that's going to be like a whole problem with them. So they're not allowed to put certain things on their bodies. This movie gets into like how you can't even film them for Twitter because they're technically the here's the other one right here, because they're the property of the NBA. The Laundromat, the other one. This one I didn't really care for too much. This was also in Toronto. Very fun fact that I've mentioned. I think I have it in the video that's coming out tomorrow. That the Laundromat was not allowed to play in one of the theaters in Toronto International Film Festival because it was a Netflix movie. And that theater chain was like, no, we are not doing anything that's streaming because it's not cinema. That theater closed down. The Laundromat is okay. I thought it tried a lot of things, especially with the narration, and it felt kind of like a Big Short, like him trying to do The Big Short. I wasn't for it. I'm not even going to click Maleficent, but it is an Oscar-nominated movie. I don't care for it. Someone Great. This was the other movie that I was talking about. Someone Great is such a depressing Netflix film that I highly recommend. I love this movie. It's heartbreaking, but that's because of how great of a job Gina Rodriguez and Lakeith Stanfield, who play a couple who have been dating for 9 years in New York and then deciding to go their separate ways. I think it's a feel-good, feel-bad movie. I highly recommend it. I think what was the other one that I just recommended that was also on Netflix? If this gets you too sad, then just go back and watch Always Be My Maybe. But I really do recommend Someone's Great. I thought it was a pretty good one. Leaving Neverland. I don't like to say that I don't believe 2 people in a documentary. But I don't believe 2 people in a documentary. Polar was actually pretty good. This is also a Netflix movie. This is nothing great or anything like that, but Mads Mikkelsen is in it. Really like him as an actor. Highly recommend, if you're looking back on your decade stuff, to go back and watch The Hunt. What a fantastic film. One of the best of the decade if you haven't seen it, definitely. But he's in this movie. I thought it was fun. Action type of assassin movie that's very stylized. I think if you are a fan of Deadpool, you would like this movie. It doesn't necessarily break the fourth wall, but it's very tongue-in-cheek. I enjoyed it. Thought it was okay. And it's on Netflix. It's not nothing great, but it's on Netflix. I thought it was pretty fun. This is trash. Don't even watch this on Netflix. I don't even know if this is the one I'm thinking about or if this is the other one I'm thinking. Like, you know what I'm talking about? This man has countless movies on Netflix, and they're all the same thing. So I don't know which one this one is, but I can guarantee you it's got the same score. John Mulaney and the Sack Bunch Kids. This was pretty clever. I really like this. This is a kind of special that he did with A24 that was released on Netflix. Talking about, it's kind of like a Sesame Street type thing that he's doing. And he has, who else did he have in here? Let me see if I can find some of the other stuff. He had a specific cameo in here. I don't know what. He's not coming up here. Is Jake Gyllenhaal. He's all the way at the top. I don't know why I didn't see him. As Mr. Music is the goofiest I've ever seen him, because he's coming in for a kid show, but he looks like he's still his character in Nightcrawler. This may not be everybody's cup of tea. I thought it was pretty funny, and I probably the best segment that I liked in this, it being an A24 Netflix kind of just John Mulaney half comedy special, but also after school special for kids, is he does this bit where he's showing all these, I think it was like a new Trolls movie or something, and he's asking them all the kids what their favorite part was, and they're all like, this is my favorite movie of all time. And that's so funny because we see so many of these kids movies with kids, and they all come out saying the exact same thing. Fantastic. 5 Feet Apart. I believe, if you followed this channel at all, you would know that I am a sucker when it comes to these type of movies. A Walk to Remember, one of my favorite of all time. This movie right here, it had the sick kids. Romance comedy is, Haley Lou Richardson, love her. I absolutely recommend Columbus. Let me see where it is right here. If you have not seen this movie, she is fantastic in this film. Oh, so good. So good. Also great in a bunch of these other films here as well. But I was so excited for this. Even had one of Zach Cody. I don't know which one this one is. Not good. bro, not good. One day, maybe I'll talk more about it, but this movie, I just thought it felt overly cliche. For a guy who's fine with overly cliche type of movies like this, they had some stuff that happened in this thing that made absolutely no sense. 5 feet apart. These guys, they have a condition where they can't see each other, right? Or they will die. They're like, oh, see this right here? They decide to spend 5 feet. It's supposed to be 6, but it's called 5 feet apart because they're really romantic, and they're like, you know what would be cute is if we risked our lives, even though everyone's trying to save us and spend all this money, and take back a feet for us, 5 feet apart, not 6 feet apart like we're supposed to be. Like, they risked their lives so many times. I was more frustrated than I was thinking this was cute in this movie at all. Not for me. Judy, I do want to make a movie for this, or a movie. I keep saying movie because we're talking about movies. I want to make a video for this one as well, because I think it's a crazy story. I think Rupert Gold did a pretty solid job directing this, but Renee Zellweger went all out in this performance. There was points when I was comparing it to the actual footage of Judy during that time. It's insane, and they got pretty deep with it. Not as deep as I think they could have gotten. Maybe a documentary may be better, but still a pretty good movie. Recommended performance from it. Queen and Slim. This I need to make a whole video on right here. Look at this. 3.5 stars. 3.5. This is like one of those movies where you either love it or you hate it type of thing. That's what I was hearing so much about it. It kind of mixed from some of the people who I know who saw it. This movie does some weird stuff. It's supposed to be like the Black Bonnie and Clyde. Queen and Slim came out, I think, around Thanksgiving of last year, but it didn't gain that much traction because I think like Knives Out was hitting it big, and there was a bunch of other movies that were like probably franchise films that were coming out. So this was a smaller movie that was trying to gain like a lot of Oscar attention. Obviously didn't get much, but I really like Daniel Kaluuya in this movie. I know she's new, Jodie Turner-Smith. Thought she did a really good job in this movie, even though I'm not a fan of her character, but she did a really great job with her performance. I liked how stylized it was, and I like what they did in taking these crazy twists and turns and risks with the story that sometimes I thought were idiotic. I thought it was dumb. I thought it made the characters look extremely dumb. But it kind of works in a very chaotic type of way. I'd have to watch it again, and I'm very curious to hear some of the behind the scenes for why they made some of the decisions they decided to go. Because when you think this is just going to be a regular Bonnie and Clyde movie, which it ends up really being, it also tries to instigate in some other ways. So we'll see. We'll see how it holds up on a second watch for me. But that was my rating for it at the beginning, and I did like it. I did like the risk that they took with it, even though I know it does not work for a lot of people, and it didn't really work for me the first time around either. Atlantics. This is a movie that I really wanted to catch at TIFF. I know won something at Cannes, and I don't want to say too much about it because someone had spoiled it for me right before I had seen it, what kind of movie it actually is, because it actually plays with some genres. But this is a movie, it's kind of like a romance tale. I'll read it for you right here. Along the Atlantic coast, a soon-to-be inaugurated futuristic tower looms over a suburb of Dakar. Ada, 17, is in love with Solomon, a young construction worker, but she has been promised to another man. One night, Solomon and his co-workers leave the country by sea in hopes of a better future. Several days later, a fire ruins Ada's wedding, and a mysterious fever starts to spread. Little does Ada know that Solomon has returned. Oh! I actually want to see this one again because I was busy working on some other stuff. But this was one that I had been waiting on, and one of the things that blew my mind was that Maddie Diop, who's actually an actress, and I was rewatching something, I guess it's not appearing for her here, but she's an actress. She's in a movie called Simon Killer that I was rewatching for my Best of the Decade rewatch, and it pops out Maddie Diop, and I was like, why does Maddie Diop sound familiar? It's because I kept seeing all of the interviews that she was doing. So she's an actress turned director, and I think that's pretty dope because she had a banger of a hit with this one that did pretty good at festivals. And if you want to check it out, it's in a foreign language, but it is on Netflix as well. Watch it along there. Very interesting turn. It's going to be slow, and it's not going to be for everyone, but it's a very interesting mesh of genres that's not too in your face. There's a movie I want to recommend it that's also a foreign film, but it would ruin the genre, so I don't want to spoil it. But yeah. Let It Snow. I don't even remember this movie, but I think what I had to... Yeah, okay, no, I know what this is. Yeah, Shameik Moore was in this, man. So this is a movie that, if you remember those New Year's Eve, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, I don't hate those movies, but they definitely at a certain point just decided to make those as like easy cash grabs where they just have a bunch of people come in and they all just play whatever role. Netflix has decided to do that with a bunch of like, hey, you've seen Sabrina the Teenage Witch. You know the girl who plays Dora? Yo, y'all seen Spider-Man? And now they combine them into like these vignette type stories, and this one has to do with like a blizzard. They had a couple of other ones that I know I'm going to mention as well. They try to be cute. They're too dumb to be cute, though. You know, when like something's not cute enough to be that dumb? That's this movie right here. The Silence. I said I was going to make a video on this, and I'm sorry I lied. I can't. She keeps finding herself in a lot of Netflix projects, and it's crazy to think that, what's her name? I don't want to mess it up. Kiernan Shipka. It's crazy to think that she grew up with Mad Men, and now she's doing, like, The Silence. There is, if I'm not mistaken with this one of the dumbest scenes where, this is in the apocalypse, someone decides to, I think it's one of the uncles, where he decides to just move around in the car, crashes the car. For no reason. And I'm like, what kind of a movie is this? Addams Family. Imagine Addams Family if they're like, how can we make this the Minions? A Rainy Day in New York. I know you're not supposed to watch this movie, so let's just say I torrented it. A Rainy Day in New York is the Woody Allen movie where all of these young actors who have been always wanting to work with Woody Allen finally had the chance to work with Woody Allen. Then everyone told them, nope, it's bad to work with Woody Allen, which, mind you, yeah, Woody Allen, jacked up dude. But all of these actors who have been waiting their entire life to work with Woody Allen were told they can't do that, and every single one's like, I apologize for working with Allen, I apologize for working with, but they all wanted to. They were able to sneak one in, and it made it to their IMDb. That's really what they were all concerned about, and this movie sucks. I have no idea how else to put it other than Tim Allen. If you don't like Tim Allen, or even if you like Tim Allen, he has gotten to the point where he really just writes himself, and he thinks he's Timothée Chalamet, so Timothée Chalamet is walking around talking like, wow, he's like 19 in this movie, I want to say. And this dude, Woody Allen just wrote him so he could write like him. He's talking about, the great days up at the park, going up North Avenue. Like, dude, Timothy, that's one of the worst. Like, for me to say that it was a bad Timmy role, that's terrible to say. This was one of the goofiest written movies that he has done. Thought it was terrible. Thought it was horrendous. But it wasn't as bad as this piece of garbage. This is on Netflix now. I wasted my time watching this movie. I couldn't even find it in me to make fun of this movie unless I had made a compilation with this. There's a movie called After that, in fact, is based off of a Wattpad, I want to say, which is pretty much like, I'm blanking on it. Maybe someone in the chat will help me. Fan fiction, pretty much. And it had to do with, I think, Harry Styles. Some of the One Direction boys. And they decided to turn this into a movie. What dookie, man. What dookie? What my boy Ash say? Best music video collection I've ever seen. The British guy. Nah. Ash, you wrong for this one right here. If you want to torture yourself, there it is. After. Based off fan fiction. Secret Life of Pets 2, it was decent. I find it so funny how they just swapped Pet and Oswald because they couldn't bring back, what's his name after everything that happened. No one noticed. Nobody cared. The Bash Brothers. I thought this was a pretty good, The Lonely Island continues to do these like little spoof things that are almost like halftime musicals. They're extended Saturday Night Live sketches is really how I would put them. Zach had recommended this to me. I'd give it around probably 3.5 stars. I think is what I gave it. 3. He gave it a half more than I did. But pretty much it's like their little movie, 30 minutes long on Netflix. It's half a mockumentary. The other half is a rap album, sorry. So it's all these songs. It's really a rap album, I guess. It's a visualized rap album, if we're putting it that way. I guess it doesn't say that, but that's really what it is. It's 30 minutes of like 10 songs that talk about these actual baseball players, Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire, who were just crazy hitting home runs in the 1980s. And then everyone found out they were on steroids. But it's pretty funny. Noelle is lame. It's lame. There's a Disney Plus movie about, well, what if Saint Nick didn't want to be Santa Claus, and like, what if Santa Claus was female instead? You could have made something really great with this. It's dookie, and CGI was terrible in that as well. So I'm very curious to see what people think about this one. Let me read some of the stuff in the chat, I guess, as well. It's a 50 Shades of Grey for you. Yeah, pretty much. You skipped my list of things. Oh, man. I apologize for that one. Palmer, Us is so great. Peele is a genius. Man, I agree with the first movie that he made. Just not the big. I have a whole video on it. I'll have a whole video on it because some of the problems that I have with Us, some people still haven't been able to explain. And I think when you see what I'm talking about, there's some stuff in Us that just doesn't make sense to me. But we'll see. Now there's some good stories on Wattpad. If you read this, After is based off Harry Styles and It Has Me Screaming. Wattpad is just written porn half the time. Yeah, pretty much. Question, will you do a face reveal? Go check out the A to Z show. Any Adam Driver movie in 2019? Yes, there was a couple. There was three. It's garbage. Some of it's good. Have we discussed Midsommar? I don't think I have Midsommar mentioned here, but there is a whole video coming off on Midsommar for sure. Dave Chappelle's Sticks and Stones got so much flack. I think this is a really great stand-up special where he just decides to be an absolute dick. I think some people, I know that there's this whole argument. You brought it up. We brought it up with the Todd Phillips stuff and with a bunch of other things, but where comedians talking about censorship and such. But honestly, there's just points where comedians are a dick. I do think that Dave Chappelle, I can't say he crosses the line because if he doesn't give a damn if there's a line or not, but he's an asshole at some points in this stand-up sketch. And I think a lot of what he's saying, especially because some of it, oh, thank you, Shifts YSL, Under the Silver Lake, by the way, I love you, Art. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I actually do want to mention Under the Silver Lake because that's actually, spoiler alert, in my top films of the year. I do like Under the Silver Lake. I hate that A24 buried it. It's on Amazon, I believe, to stream. And it's one of those movies that has me going back trying to, like, fix all the puzzle pieces that are going on there. Let me see. What was I talking about? Dave Chappelle, yeah. I think that one of the biggest problems that he had with this one is that he just went off, and the good motives that he's trying to say don't get through in comedy. But again, that's the part of it. He wants you to decipher, I guess, whether you can see through what he's trying to say or not. I think some of the jokes work really well. I think some of the jokes were dragged out a little too long. But this is a guy who's been mastering his craft to the point that he's not here to entertain you. He's trying to see how much he can get away with. Angel Has Fallen was great in Dolby. I just want to I have one story on here because at this point, you know what we have. Olympic has fallen. London has fallen. Angel has fallen. Everything has fallen. Gerard Butler has fallen way too many times. There is a point in this movie where he just becomes the bad guy. That's the new gimmick with this one. He becomes the bad guy. What's his name from the last one is completely gone. Let me see if I can find him. London has fallen. I thought he was president. Aaron Eckhart has disappeared, has just raptured off the face of the earth. So instead, it's just Morgan Freeman and Gerard Butler. Gerard Butler's now the bad guy. I'm watching this with like a World War II veteran sitting next to me in Dolby while the surround sound has all these blasts and booming and you know, like the Dolby seats move. I thought this man was going through PTSD. I'm going to use this time for some of these movies to just talk about my theater experiences. It was one of the craziest theater experiences I've ever seen. I thought this man was just going, like he was hiding from the actual missiles being thrown. And I was like, did no one tell this man what this movie was? Did this man not read the MPAA rating to this? Great in Dolby. I don't know how this movie will be at home because it's very forgettable. Let me see. I'll read some stuff from the chat. I guess I'll read some stuff from the chat in between. Have you ever seen Brokeback Mountain? Curious about your thoughts. Recently we watched it, and damn, I have not rewatched it in a long time, like since it came out. But it was funny because I had just gotten a trivia card that had said what had won that year, and it said that did, and I was like, that did not win that year. I know for a fact Crash won. Are there any Best Pictures that you think shouldn't be nominated? Well, I mean, I would have my own personal picks, but the three that I was surprised, really, I'm surprised Joker made it all the way. And if that wins, to be honest with you, I don't think it's Best Picture, but if that wins, that's just hilarious to me. I don't really care what wins Best Picture because whatever's my Best Picture is my Best Picture regardless of, but whatever would be a good story. Like, I want another Moonlight La La Land thing. Like, that was just good content, you know? That was just fun to watch. I also was surprised with Jojo Rabbit, even though I know that it had won at TIFF, and Green Book also won at TIFF, and that went on to win all the way. That one was an interesting pick. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up going. I still think it's going to be between 1917 and Once Upon a Time, but we'll see how that goes. If I was a betting man, I'm going 1917 now after the recent win. Dave Chappelle's Netflix special was hilarious. Did you watch 1917? Yes. Video being worked on that right now as well. The King on Netflix. Got to go video. I have a whole video for that one. Puedes hablar de Euphoria. También, si no es un movie. Yeah, of course, dude. Oh, Euphoria. One of my favorite shows. I am talking about that one as soon as possible. But I know that keeps getting pushed back. Moonlight is a phenomenal film. Thoughts on The Irishman. Got a whole video that will be coming up on that one, but I loved it. I'll put it to you this way. Seen it 8 times. Okay, let me get on to the next one. Where were we at? Shaft. I didn't mind Shaft, but I can see how a lot of people hated it. It was an attempt of trying to mesh the original Shaft and then Sam L. Jackson's Shaft and then this new Shaft that was very much millennial, no disrespecting women. Well, these gentlemen were not being gentle with women. It was an interesting clash that I thought wasn't a terrible movie. But I think Bad Boys from this year did it a little bit better. But I see what they were going for, and I think it worked better for general audiences than it did with a lot of critics who were like, no, things have to be one way and not the other. But it was okay. Just Mercy. I just recently caught this one, and I was going to cover it more in the Chicago's Best because I do want to make a video talking about not just the movies that I saw at the Chicago International Film Festival, but I have another version of this that I actually want to cut up and not make it as a live stream, where I want to talk about the best movies that I saw that played at the Chicago International Film Festival. So even if I saw it somewhere else, and just compile those all into a video called The Best of Chicago Fest, because a bunch of the movies that do the festival circuits end up going through there. And even if they're tiny, I figured that'd be a great way to bring some light to them. So I might mention this one over there again, but I just saw it recently. And I wanted to say that I know it's out in theaters right now. I think it's a pretty solid flick. I had mentioned this back that I always wait to make my videos because I want to make sure that I've seen it, even though I didn't think this was going to make my best of the year. I do think it's a great movie. Not best of the year worthy. I do think this man overacts. Like, this man pauses through every line as if he's trying to get the Oscar. But it's still a pretty solid movie, but between Just Mercy and what was the other one that I was mentioning? Clemency, which had won Sundance. The thing with it is that they've dragged these movies out. They want to be in contention for 2019, but they wait until 2020 for the releases. I wait. I push my videos back. Not making my list, but it was still a pretty good movie. I still have Clemency to see and a couple of other ones, which is why I'm hoping to still get the best of the year. By the time the Oscars comes out, I think someone had asked. Let me see if I can see it over here. Are you still not covering the Oscars because Hella didn't get nominated? She deserved. Is that why she didn't get a new intercut to cover it? No, we have a new intercut that's coming out for it. Plus an Oscar video that's coming out tomorrow. So I decided to cover all of my picks for the Oscars for the categories. I won't be here. I was originally not going to cover the actual ceremony because I won't be here. Plus they always flag it anyway. So I was like, no, I'm not going to cover your ceremony when. We'll talk about it on Intercut probably. But I do have a video talking about my picks of what I think should just get highlighted. Because Zach and I were talking about that on the Intercut podcast as well. On using the Oscars. Because you can't really ignore the Oscars. That's monumental for what it is. And I've mentioned this even in the videos where I've criticized the Oscars. You just wish that, I had mentioned the Oscars stock. The Oscars stock is low right now. I hope it gets a little bit higher. What Men Want. This is the remake to What Women Want. And people forgot about it. That's all I have to say. Captive State, I actually thought was a pretty good movie in terms of the technical aspects of it. I know that it gets very played out and the script is very convoluted. But I feel like there's a version of this movie that could have done well. And that's mainly because it's Rupert Wyatt. This isn't just a dude who doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, he didn't know what he was doing here. But I thought he did a great job with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I thought he does a good job over here with the technical stuff. Again, a decent rent it in my opinion. I don't even think, if it was streaming, sure, definitely watch it. But if it's even, go out to Redbox to get it, I think it's worth the watch as well. Too Old to Die Young. I think this is still playing in the background for me. This is the series that Nicholas Winding Refn did for Amazon. And oh my goodness, does it take so long for anything to happen. That's all I'll say about this show. Maybe I'll cover it longer once I finish it, but this thing just drags for people just to say lines. Lady and the Tramp. Expect way more of these. I am not a fan of the animation that they are doing because I think it just looks weird. I know the people who complained about The Lion King were like, it doesn't have too much emotion. This has too much emotion. Or it didn't have enough emotion, Lion King. Dude, there's glossing in these eyes, and they're doing lip quivers that dogs just don't do. It's weird. I've always thought that was weird. I've always said just go full cartoon. Oliver and Company me, Keep it at Lady at the Tramp. But once you start making why do you want to make it look real? It's not real. I just think it's weird. Maybe that's just me, but the movie also just doesn't stand up. Black Christmas. Black Christmas decided to... It's going on this trend of, even though there's already an original movie called Black Christmas and then a remake called Black Christmas, why not just call the new one and not differentiate it by continuing to call it Black Christmas? But surprisingly, this has nothing to do with Black Christmas. It takes place on Christmas, but just like we were talking about in one of the earlier movies, it does not keep with the lore at all. Like the new Grudge movie, which we have a video on that we're working on right now, it's a side quill, so it's still within the same world. This isn't. It's nothing. This is just a completely different thing. It has nothing to do with anything. There is a sort of Me Too storyline that they go with it. And Sophia Takal, who we had mentioned previously on, right here, New Year, New You. She had done a special for the Blumhouse Hulu series. And I thought this one was okay. There are aspects to Black Christmas that I really like. I really like Imogen Poots' performance and the story arc that she goes through. Some of the stuff over here, they might as well have just put the pow, when Batman punches someone, it goes pow, and just have it be girl power. And these women right here, the feet linebackers It's, bro, I don't even know what to say. I don't even want to spoil it. It's not just linebackers. It's like possessed linebackers too. It's some stuff that didn't make any sense. Even fans of Black Christmas were like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Really interesting thriller right here. It's on Netflix. In the Shadow of the Moon. In 1988, Philadelphia police officer Thomas Lockhart, hungry to become a detective, begins tracking a serial killer whose crimes defy scientific explanation. When the killer mysteriously resurfaces 9 years later, Locke's obsession with finding the truth threatens to destroy his career, his family, and possibly his sanity. Very good thriller. Drags a little bit, but I think it had a decent ending that I know Alina really enjoyed as well. The Fanatic. Goofiest. Top 10 goofiest movies of the year. I didn't even get to finish this. Oh, why wouldn't she give it 3.5? She did not give it 3.5. I think she mistook this for something else. She 100% mistook this for something else because she made me turn this off. She made me turn this off because she got scared that someone was going to do this to us. This is the creepiest movie. It's directed by the guy who was in Limp Bizkit. And in the movie, they listen to Limp Bizkit. I don't even remember this movie. Midway. I only was okay. I'm not even. I apologize. This was not prepared. I only saw Midway. I had to leave halfway through the movie. I did not expect to do that. Alina did finish seeing it. From what I saw, it's Roland Emmerich doing Roland Emmerich. Very corny performances. What's his name over here? I'm gonna say Ed Skrein always looks like Skeletor. And I feel like they shot this in two different timelines because at a certain point, he still looks like Skeletor, but in another one, he's a little filled out. Like, not like Martin Lawrence filled out, but he's filled out enough that I was like, wow, you could actually be a leading man and you don't have to look like a skeleton. So I will say that about that. Alina did like it. She thought it was pretty good. But she also hasn't seen the other movies that, what's his name, has made. And I don't think it's up there with the other movies that Roland Emmerich has made. Very good documentary right here. I know people hated Game of Thrones in the finale to the point that I heard someone say that they were done. This is a good documentary that shows you that there's a lot of work and dedication that went into this. And while it doesn't have to change your minds on the story, obviously not, I always think it's very cool to see something so massive as a culture phenomenon as Game of Thrones be dissected. And they weave very personal stories in there that I very much enjoyed. Highly recommend it on HBO as well. Secret Obsession. What is she doing? Ma'am. Bad movie. Spies in Disguise. Will Smith, is with Tom Holland. Tom Holland is just dressed and talks just like Tom Holland. He turns into a pigeon and he says, "Pigeon, please," throughout the entire movie. The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. This is a movie that was at Sundance about a boy who harnessed the wind. It's directed by Chiwetel Ejiofor. Why does it keep doing this? Where is my... Does it break? Oh, it's because it does direct. Oh my goodness. I just learned this on Letterboxd. Look at that right there. So Chiwetel Ejiofor, 12 Years a Slave, Doctor Strange, Lion King, of course, Chiwetel Ejiofor. Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, I think is hilarious for one reason only, and that's that if you ever go on Facebook, brace yourself, but if you ever go on Facebook, I saw somebody post about the boy, and they were like, this boy who lives in Malawi, no one's giving him attention, so spread this post. This movie was already on Netflix. Facebook is a crazy place. Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. It's a decent movie. This is crazy for me right now. This Cats Netflix documentary, I ended up finishing watching it. It's got these crazy twists and turns, and some people hate it. Some people love it. I was kind of disgusted by it. I do think it takes a little bit too long at certain points. And it's, again, one of those documentaries where I think the story helps it more than the actual documentary. Do you get what I'm saying? Because it's like they don't own the story that happened. They can only document it. Hence the documentary style of it. And I think the story is more compelling than that. And I think they could have made a better message out of it with what they were doing with the cat side of it. I was actually at this performance in Colorado. I don't believe that's the actual performance that was recorded. Decent. I think he could have done a much better job. It's very interesting to see that this was directed by Spike Jonze. A lot of directors have been going out. I know Bob Burnham did Chris Rock's, I want to say. And there's been a lot of different direction coming up with stand-up specials, which is really interesting considering the fact that many people just think stand-up specials is people standing up. But they made something special out of this one over here, even though I think he could have done, let's just say, his past. He could have made better jokes with that. I just think, not like, oh, he didn't handle it correctly. No. Just better jokes. I wanted him to be funnier. 47 Meters Down has Jamie Foxx's daughter, Sylvester Stallone's daughter. This may be a passenger kid. Neil Long is in this too. This movie is such dookie, and I was so excited for this considering I did like the first 47 meters. This was 48 meters lower. This has some of the dumbest scenes in a movie that should not have been in there. I almost want to make this once I get a copy of it, because I wasn't gonna diss this movie and then not be able to show you how goofy something is. You know when like something's like you had to be there. You know, me describing to you what happens in this movie is not a good LME unless I'm able to show it to you. Let me read some comments right here. They should have ended on that part. Let's see. I think we have a conversation in terms of. I actually really enjoyed the Cats documentary, but maybe just because I'm into that style of stuff. Definitely. I know another one that I would recommend right now that is going to make our must-watch for January is the Aaron Hernandez documentary. I don't have that one on here because obviously that's 2020, but that's another one where it definitely is the story itself that's so surreal and insane, but they do a great job documenting it, so I would highly recommend that one. The Mustang. Great film out of Sundance. While participating in a rehabilitation program training wild Mustangs, a convict at first struggles to connect with the horses and his fellow inmates, but he learns to confront his violent past as he soothes an especially feisty horse. Dude, I want to ruin a shot that happens in this movie that speaks volumes, but there is a moment where, like, this guy who's, he's in jail and he's realizing how they're just training him or whatever else, and he looks at the dog and the horse and the way that he's treated. There was a lot of horse movies that came out in the previous years. This is my pick. I know a lot of people prefer Lean on Pete. I know a lot of people prefer, there's another one that I'm blanking on. Maybe someone will see it in the chat, and that's why I love having y'all here, so you'll just see the name pop out there. But there's another one that came out last year as well. This one would have been my favorite out of the horse movies. I really like the way it hits at the end. The last summer, I was just telling y'all about these Netflix movies that will have it's like the new young adult version of the New Year's Eve, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day thing. This one takes place in Chicago. I thought that was cool. There's some parts of this that I do like more than the Let It Snow one, and that's because I think it plays off technology well. How people would be dating nowadays in terms of like Uber, like how Uber Eats and Uber gets involved, Lyft, all these different things, and I thought it worked pretty well. But I still give it 2 stars. It worked pretty well in terms of that aspect of the movie where they did technology, but I'm not recommending it. Let me read some other ones over here. Hey, man, thanks for the stream. Hey, appreciate you guys being here. I know this one's going to be around an hour, but it will be rewatchable as well. Still thinking of ways. Hell yes, Christian. Watchmen. I am making a video on Watchmen. We also have something that I think we did finish an intercut, so that should be out if it's not out already on Watchmen, because it is one of Zach's favorites of the year. I really did like it. I need to rewatch it again. I'm also finishing up the book, which I didn't get to finish reading it, I guess, before starting the show. But I did very much enjoy Watchmen. I'm happy that it's not coming for a second season because I think they should leave it exactly where it ends, right there. Thoughts on Chasing Happiness? Do I have it over? Oh yeah, right here. Chasing Happiness. The story of brotherhood. I grew up with the Jonas Brothers. I don't know how to tell this to you. I actually wanted to do an album review of their album coming up, but I thought it was a pretty decent. This is on Amazon Prime. It's a decent look on them, story of brotherhood and the stuff that they did. All of them now being married. I like it. If you have a brother in your life, if you grew up listening to the Jonas Brothers, I think it's a pretty good, solid documentary. If you don't care for them, though, it's good, but I don't think you'll be as attached to it, in my opinion. Let's see what else I was hearing. Thoughts on Chasing Happiness. What did you think about Bombshell? I really liked Bombshell. I'm hoping to talk about that in more depth outside of this video, but I did enjoy it. What videos are you working on at the moment? Let me read some off to you off the board over here that you guys can't really see, but we do have one on Dr. Dolittle. So y'all who are listening in here, I want to call it Doolittle Does Little. You let me know if that works or not. You let me know. Doolittle Does Little. I have an Oscars one that's going to be coming up tomorrow. It's the Let Me Explain Oscars, which pretty much, instead of just bashing the Oscars, of course I make some jokes, but pretty much I'm just adding other nominations in there or categories at points, because I figured instead of just complaining about the Oscars are so big and pivotal. The name itself, that's not going to go away. You can't just say don't ignore the Oscars, change the Oscars, which is why a lot of people complain about it. Not that I can play a role in it, but what I can do is use the name, piggyback off it, and give more recommendations for some movies out that may not be on people's radar. I can make a must-watch list, but maybe no one's looking up Let Me Explain. They may be looking up Oscars, and maybe puts another movie in their little radar right there. I have a video on Apple TV versus Disney Plus coming out. I have Star Wars Goofed coming out. That should be fun. I have a video. I don't know when the U video will be out. Don't promise me, because I said the same thing last year this time and it didn't come out. But we do have one on Bad Boys and The Grudge. So Bad Boys, Grudge, Star Wars Goofed, Apple TV versus Disney Plus, Oscars, and Doolittle. I actually have a bunch of videos before we go to Sundance. I actually prepped this time, believe it or not. Let me read a couple of these so I can finish up this thing as well. Watching was pretty good. Did you see the movie Greta? Yes, I think I'm going to cover it in a little bit. Just commenting so I can see my name on screen. There you go. And I even read your comment as well. Is Togo worth watching? It's as a stream it, but I don't think if you want to watch something else, it is not top priority for sure. Parasite is a masterpiece, definitely. Any thoughts on Aries, Netflix Dutch horror? I have not seen that one yet. Are you going to watch the Snowpiercer show? Yeah, I'm curious to see how it turns out, especially because I think the comic was a lot longer, the French comic, so it'd be interesting to see how they expand it. How would you rank the Best Picture nominees? You're going to see tomorrow. What about Looking for Alaska? I actually want to make a video on that one. I think I have it here as well. Are you going to do a Best Movies of 2020? I hope to get that out because there's still some movies that have had very late releases. I could have made the video without them, but if I'm going to make a video, I'm also making the video not just for you guys, but for me. As a time capsule for myself, I want to make sure I've documented everything that I've seen, so at least I know that this was my personal favorite because, again, it's me explaining my favorites. I got a couple more to watch, but hopefully by the time the Oscars come around, Thank you. On the Doolittle title. That's on Ford v Ferrari. It's not that I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And seeing it get like more praise, I'm in that position where it sounds like I'm hating on the movie when I'm really not. But it's, I hate the movie. I hate Ford v Ferrari. And I really don't like Mark Wahlberg. Matt Damon in it. I really don't like Matt Damon in it. There's something about that. But I do like Christian Bale's performance in that movie. What do you think about Avengers Endgame? Mentioned it a little bit earlier. Think it's pretty good. A to Z, you saw Ford v Ferrari. What do you think? I mentioned it as well. Well, what did you say? I enjoyed it, but didn't care for the ending, even though the ending was what happened in real life. Presenting that scene around the content of the movie. Oh, we'll get to that. You excited for Dune? Dude, Denis Villeneuve's my favorite director. Come on now. Have you seen A Simple Favor? Yeah, we did a whole video on it. Thoughts on The Turning. I have not seen that one yet. I think that's the horror one that's coming out. Parasite, very good. Have you seen The Servants on Apple TV? The first couple of episodes, I know it's going through a lawsuit right now. What 2020 movies are on your list? I don't really have much, but I have a bunch of Sundance stuff that we had mentioned in the last one. Did you see Underwater? Not yet. It's time for bed, but I want to watch movies now. Go watch. Let me see what I got here that I'd recommend. What I recommend. Sextuplets isn't. No, I'm just kidding. Go watch Ghosts of Sugarland. Or go watch Love and Tosha. It was pretty good. Or, what else is streaming? This is on HBO. It's a pretty good documentary. Oh, watch this. Also a good documentary I like this more than the actual show. The Crystal Calls, The Making of the Dark Crystal. I like that more than the actual series. Because I like the making of stop motion more than anything else. Let me just finish this right here. I'll wrap this stuff over here. I'm sorry if I'm not able to talk or answer every single one. Let me see. Goldie, if you listen to A$AP Rocky has a song named Goldie. I don't think this is supposed to be based off of that, but A$AP Ferg is in this movie as well. I know Slick Woods is a model, and this was like one of her big acting roles that she did. It was a decent movie, but in case it isn't in your radar and you check out the trailer and you like it, maybe it's up your alley, so I figured I'd mention it. It's about a model who's trying to be in a music video, and she's dropped all this money on like this coat, only to figure out that may or may not happen. Surviving R. Kelly, I thought was a really good documentary series. Very funny, and I'm going to be editing it in the You video, that Lifetime was producing Surviving R. Kelly and You at the same time. Now, obviously Netflix took You, but it almost makes me think, is that because they wanted season 2 of Surviving R. Kelly? I haven't seen Surviving R. Kelly season 2, so I have to watch it before I pass judgment, but it is kind of weird to have a season 2 because the first season did so well based off of sexual abuse. Again, I mentioned Crystal. Overcomer, I'm always watching what the Kendrick brothers have to offer. They're not great movies. They're not even good movies, but they're heartfelt movies that whether you're a Christian or not, I respect these guys for what they do because they don't come off like the Pure Flix guys. I've made videos on this as well. The Pure Flix guys sometimes come off malicious, like with their God's Not Dead and like, oh, we're better. Like, whatever. These guys are just making the movies for themselves. The movie about marriage, the movie about faith, the movie about praying, the movie about being courageous, flywheeling, and overcoming. I would still say nothing's matched what they've had with this one. I would say. Again, I'm not recommending these as great movies, but if you've seen these, you know what we're talking about. Overcomer was the newest one, just as corny as the other ones. They're almost there. And I will say, I think if they could just get different writers, they'd be good. Mary, let me read this to you. Gary Oldman's in this. A struggling family buys an old ship at an auction with high hopes of starting a charter business, only to discover her horrifying secrets on the isolated open waters. They start thinking this thing's haunted and stuff. A decent, if it's ever streaming, ignore it. Wrinkles the Clown, very interesting. In Florida, parents can hire Wrinkles the Clown to scare their misbehaving children. This is a documentary, very short documentary, and it's not too crazy. Like, it's not my favorite documentary. It's not in my top, like, 5 of the year, but it's an interesting documentary that happens in Florida. Because, first of all, so many crazy things happen in Florida, but it's this weird thing about this, like, call organization that's going on there. Like, if you wanted to scare a kid, you can. It's technically kind of illegal. It's like vigilanteism by scaring people through scare pranks. Unplanned, one of the worst of the year last year, and I know this gets very political. I'm just talking about this from a movie perspective. It is terrible filmmaking. It is just bad filmmaking, but it also has one of the goofiest lines of the year when someone compares abortion to French fries and soda at fast food restaurants. And it's delivered even worse than you think. I See You. Pretty good thriller. Don't want to say too much of it. But when a 12-year-old boy goes missing, lead investigator Greg Harper struggles to balance the pressure of the investigation and troubles with his wife. Facing a recent affair, great strain is put on the family that slowly gnaws away. Pretty much, there's 2 people living in their house while other stuff is happening. They don't know what to do about it. I think it's a pretty solid stream it. Pretty interesting movie with a really good ending, I thought. This is not Berlin. I have not finished watching other Sundance movies that I was catching up, but this one came highly recommended from my boys Andres and Fernando. They really like this movie. I love the style of this movie. Very fantastic film. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere else. Like, that's the worst part about a lot of these Sundance movies, especially when they're foreign films, is that they don't get a really good distribution. I don't know where Monos is going either. That would be another one to mention, but I know I was able to catch that for Sundance. But I would add this on your list as well. Let me read the synopsis for you. 17-year-old Carlos doesn't fit in anywhere, not in his family, nor with friends he has chosen in school. But everything changes when he is invited to a mythical nightclub where he discovers the underground LGBTQ nightlife scene. Punk, sexual liberty, and drugs. So if that's up your alley, there you go. I'll wrap up some of these over here. Medea's Family Funeral. Y'all know it's Dookie. Y'all know I even made the movie on this man's work ethic, but this movie's be Dookie. Don't Let It Go got its title changed, actually, and it's like a time travel type movie. I believe it's on, I don't know if it's streaming now yet, but I know it got a theatrical release, and Alina actually was able to catch this early on. And she had noted how some of this, it's interesting the way that it works, because he's technically talking to his family members who have passed because of an accident that happened, but he's trying to prevent it from happening. It's one of those where it's more intriguing to hear the premise of it than to actually have it go down. Nancy Drew and the Hidden Staircase. I just wanted to remind you guys that this is a movie that came out. Notes from Melanie is Chris Stuckman actually directed this. Thought it was, because I think he's trying to make the transition from reviews over to making movies. I wish him the best over here. This is a cute little film that he had going on here as well. But I'd be curious to see him play more festivals. That'd be dope. Especially because he has such a big audience to support him as well. That I'd be curious to see what he does next. Because it's always curious to see people who go from critics to filmmaking to see, like, as you're watching it, how you know they're critiquing it as they're editing that final cut. But while I thought it was a very fun play. It fits well on his channel as well, about a screenwriter known for rip-off mockbusters, trying to, like, figure out how to write his next serious script. And a lot of the designs that he put in there, if I'm being completely honest over here, I would have cut off all the stuff with your boy, I forget what his, John Flickinger, all of that could have gone out, and you might have had some good stuff going on here. I don't know what's going on there. Not for me. Sextuplets is, you got to think of it this way. The Nutty Professor for us growing up, that was like Eddie Murphy. That was that, right? Him playing all these different roles. This is Marlon Wayans doing that for the Netflix generation. And I don't think it's terrible, but it's not good. It's better than his other movies, and it's better than the Sandler movies. But y'all know that's not saying much. Let me read some more stuff right here. I'm curious about what you think of Just Mercy with Michael B. Jordan and Jimmy Fox. I had mentioned that earlier. I like it. I just think a lot of acting from Michael B.'s part. How do you feel about Mindhunter Season 3 or not having a Season 3? I got to get to work on that Season 2 video. I had a specific ending, like a specific point I was going for. I was like, man, yeah, that's definitely worth enough making a video. So to see it get indefinitely postponed, I'm not going to lie, it really sucks. But I'm also not gonna lie, and saying that they want to catch up. If you remember it, might also be a part of the plan. If you remember it, they have a specific thing at the beginning of the series that they're introducing little vignettes of a certain guy. That guy doesn't get caught till way later than the events that are happening in Mindhunter. So I don't know if this is just them buying time. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. But yeah, it kind of sucks. Out of any movies or TV shows you watched, where did your question go? I don't know where your question. Oh, there it is. Sorry. What's the worst of each two? The worst of this year, and I don't even know if I have it on here per se. I wouldn't know to tell you, but I do want to make a goofiest of the year. So if I sit with that one, I'd definitely be able to give you some. I think I may have mentioned some in here as well. Let's see. You should help write a sequel to Searching. I think I've helped in some ways, but writing probably not. I think a lot of people have been able to see it since I gave it the good word of mouth from it. Yo, I really hope Searching 2 don't suck, though. But I'm excited for it because now they're going to be doing something different with it, you know? But I am curious to see just what the team does because I know that they're also working on Run with... who did they get? Was it Sarah? I'm blanking on who they got. Sarah Paulson. And, dude, if you couldn't have snatched up a better actress. And you already had a great cast with the other one as well. How do you feel about her? I'll answer that one. I don't think it's that good. I just don't like the story, and I feel so bad for Cynthia because she does act her butt off. It's just not a good movie. Well, there you go. So that's my thoughts on Harriet right there. The Night Before Christmas. This girl's just trying to get a lockdown on the Christmas movie. Did the other one ever come out where she was supposed to be two people at once? The princess switched, but she switched again. Like the princess re-switched. She's got another one that's supposed to be coming out. There it is. Oh, it's a 2020 release. Switched again. That's what I'm excited for. That's the one. That's what I thought this one was, and it wasn't. So this one was okay. I didn't even rate it. I didn't really care too much for it. Fanatic I had mentioned. Those I had mentioned. These I had mentioned. These I had mentioned. Villains. I think we're down to our couple last lines. Villains. Two bad people are about to meet worse people. I wanted to enjoy this movie a little bit more. It was a South by flick. I have been mentioning... I'm blanking on it. Other Ghosts, I think. And it's not British because I mentioned it was British and it ended up being Irish, I want to say. Imagine me getting it wrong again. But my Irish viewers, they let me know that I was wrong on the other one, that I'm also blinking again. I don't know what I remember. It was Other Something. I prefer that one if I'm giving a South by recommendation. Villains is good, and a lot of people were excited. They were like pitching it to me. They're like, I really think you're going to like this. And it's good. What would I give it? I would give it 3. I would give it 3 because I do like the energy and the performance that they both have going. There's a campiness to it that was a little too much for me, though. A little too much to me. What was the Let Me Explain on La Llorona? It's on the channel, my homie. It's on the channel. The Falling in Love. Alina was watching this in the background. It's cute. Triple Threat. This has, like Expendables without retirees. Yo, that is that's a good tagline. All right, let me wrap this up. Tony Jaa. Masterclass. Eco-wise, my favorite out of everyone here, Michael J. White. Skyhawk, oh my goodness. Tiger Who. This has some of the best martial artists, just action actors out there, and they combine them all into one. The movie isn't great. And it's not the best choreography that they've done either, but it's just fun to see them. Balls to the wall action, very fun. Looking for Alaska, someone had mentioned it earlier. I do want to make this is a Hulu series that was super corny for me to begin with. Then I realized like the setting of it and whatever else. And the ending was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, the ending caught me off guard. Breakthrough. Again, we were talking about Christian movies a little bit earlier with Overcomer. The best Christian movie of the year. Put it to you that way. Best Christian movie of the year, and on top of that, it even got nominated for an Oscar for the best song. And on top of that, if I were to add another one, get ready for this. Producer, where is he? Oh, is he executive? Damn. How do I put this? Space Jam 2 comes out, I think, next year, and that's coming from LeBron James. Dude, this is from Steph Curry. Steph Curry's starting to produce things, and Steph Curry got himself an Oscar nominee picture with his name on it. Togo, someone had mentioned this one. It's okay. I feel like that new one with Harrison Ford should also be on here. Love Antosha, I'd recommend this very good documentary chronicling the life of Anton Yelchin, who had passed away. Freak accident. Very good movie. Also a Sundance pick, I think, as well. I know there's a lot of Sundance picks. But I highly recommend this one if you had seen any of Anton Yelchin's movies. I think it was a really good dissection of his life. And just, honestly, this man, Like, he acted in everything. I'm not going to lie. Just the story of his parents bringing him over here and everything that he did and how he hopped onto Star Trek, dude. He was in a Terminator. Like, he was in franchise movies. Then he was in Green Room, Thoroughbreds. Like, he was everywhere. And it sucks, bro. Like, after you finish watching this documentary, it hurts. That one hurts. The Day Shall Come. I want to say this is on Hulu. Very dark comedy. Some of you aren't going to think this is a comedy. May not even really be a comedy, but an impoverished leader of a small religious commune in Miami is offered cash to save his family from eviction. He has no idea his sponsor, though, works for the FBI, who plans to turn him into a criminal. Who plans to turn him into a criminal by fueling his madcap revolutionary dreams. A lot of conspiracy theories and stuff that happens here. But if you have never seen any of Chris Morris's stuff, I would recommend Four Lions before you check this one out. Read some conversation over here. Thoughts on Loose. Oh, come on, Shift. It's like you don't even watch the channel, my homie. Loose was my favorite movie of Sundance. It is my 5th favorite movie of the year. It's one of those movies that came out super early, and I love it. And then, like, yeah, I have to cover other stuff, and people are like, why aren't you talking about Loose? Because I'm not on their PR team. I think is what I keep saying. But I love Loose. And I know I haven't talked about it in a while, but that's because more stuff comes out. But I will be mentioning it as my top 5. Devil from back in the day? I liked it. What are your thoughts on the removal of the Fox name? I tweeted it out. If you don't follow me on Twitter, let me explain. I think I had put that for Star Wars, Disney was all about the name, and then they got rid of a name. That's funny. I think I just read something about Black Robot. Yes, I do. Where's Spider-Man Far From Home on DVD? True story. Silence of the Lambs is the best movie of all time. Glad you enjoy it. You should do a video on the Oscars' biggest goofs throughout history. Would run out of time. Thoughts on Dickinson? I think it's decent. The Curse of La Llorona and Spider-Man are on his channel already. Thank you, good sir Giovanna, sorry. Black Christmas, what you think? I just mentioned it a little bit earlier. Would you ever consider a video where you go back to films that may be good but got very little attention? I asked because Christmas Peak is a favorite of mine. Well, there's a 2-fer on this. 3-fer, really. One, I get a lot of recommendations, so I think a lot of people, when they say, it's like, would you want to do back stuff? And I would. I actually do, so that's, I guess, the first one. I do want to do backlog stuff, but when it comes to recommendations, that a lot of people are going to give me recommendations that either one I already did. I did this one on the A to Z show, but also I think a lot of people recommend me stuff, not realizing that doesn't mean I may like it. So someone's like, can you please do a video on this? And I was like, okay. I end up hating it, and they go like, you broke my heart. And I was like, I should have never trusted your heart with me to begin with. I do have one on Crimson Peak. That is one I want to rewatch because it's a Guillermo movie that I didn't really like initially when I saw it. The story-wise, I thought the production was out of this world. So was the music. But I have to rewatch it for the story and see how it holds up on a second watch for me. The third one is also I would just never have enough time. Like, a lot of people recommend things, and then I go to do them, and they're like, but why aren't you doing mine? Let me finish some of the stuff that I have over here. Let's see. I think I'm on my last row. IP Man 4. I actually haven't seen this one. This is on the list because I just want to let people know that I had no idea there was an IP Man 4, and I love IP Man 1, 2, and 3. This is in theaters. I hope to catch it. But if anyone has seen it, tweet me out and let me know how it compares to the other ones. American Son. I was about to make a video on this. Sadly, we were traveling a bit. But this, when we were in New York, was actually a play. American Son was a play starring everyone who was in this as well. It was 90 minutes, and that's the reason why we didn't go, because it was 90 minutes, and I could have paid the same price to see this play that I could to see a 3-hour play. So I chose that instead, and then, unbeknownst to me, it ended up, well, I guess beknownst to me because I found out, ended up being a movie. And then that movie ended up coming to Toronto. So I was about to catch it in Toronto. And then I always tell this to people who go to film festivals. Never watch something in a film festival. Like, Toronto's in September. This thing came out in October, I think. So it's like it was going to be on Netflix, too. So it's on Netflix to watch. And I think it works better as a play. I mentioned this because a lot of the dynamics very much feels like it's staged like a play, hence the locations that you see. A lot of the acting is done that way. A lot of the way that they talk to each other is meant to be in a very play-like way. I think it still adapts pretty well. I think it's still a very interesting story. Definitely overly tries to get at you with certain lines to just grapple at your emotions. But I still think I think it's a movie on Netflix that some people will enjoy and will get a lot of emotions out of them. Specifically this little dude right there. I guess you can't even see my cursor, but I'm pointing at the little cop. Last 3 right here. Irishman in Conversations, just a conversation with the Irishman. Just wanted to mention it. Jesus is King. Man, I had a whole video for this and I scrapped it. I had a whole video for it. I had a whole video talking about Kanye West and his IMAX movies. I had a whole video talking about his album as well. I had a whole video talking about how some of his lines sound like other stuff that he has said, and I had a whole compilation and transitions and like lost films that he had made. And at the end, um, I ended up not releasing it, but maybe one day I'll still talk more about it. But pretty much, this was his IMAX film that he did as a part of Jesus is King, him going all Christian, it not being about him. As you know, Jesus is King, a Kanye West film. I'm a big Kanye West fan. I'm from Chicago. We in a rough little patch. I still think sonically, he's still got it. But he's going through some stuff right now. He's going through some stuff. And as much as I want this to be a good thing, I don't know. He looks good. It sounds good. It's not the Christianity part of it that's the problem at all, because he's always had that with him. And I really dissect into a lot of what he's doing now in transferring. You know, the man started off with Jesus Walks. But a lot of the things that he's been doing, like there's a point where he starts talking about, like, it very much sounds like he's using religion as like a and don't even want to say it's him, but it sounds like someone is using him for him to believe that what he's doing is allowing him to get like tax deductible stuff to save a bunch of money. I don't know, man. All of a sudden he's talking about how Lord has blessed with $43 million. We'll see. But yeah, I might bring that video back. I just never got the chance to finish it. But there's that. Finally, before I head out, the body remembers when the world broke open. I say that there's 75 films that I've covered here, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot more. This was a Toronto pick, a TIFF one that ended up getting picked up by Ava DuVernay's company, and that was on Netflix. Pretty much these two girls encounter each other. One of them is pregnant, and as for a very, very independent movie, I think it does a really great job between the character study between these two. I know it's going to be very slow for some people. There were some editing choices sometimes where the camera just prolonged that I was like, what are we doing here? But it is on Netflix, and I'm very curious to see what the directors, cast, and especially Ava DuVernay's company does next. Those were just a couple. Like I said, there's way more. I know some more were even mentioned here that I hadn't mentioned in this video. These were just movies that I may not be making full videos on. Anything that isn't mentioned here, and even these that were mentioned up in the top, will get full. Not Zombieland. Swap these two. We'll get full videos that we'll be working on. Just taking longer than usual. But that's pretty much it. Want to talk about some of these movies. Next week will be on Friday for the live stream. Have a bunch of other videos, like I had mentioned, lined up as we head out to the Sundance International Film Festival in Salt Lake City, Utah. So we will be over there for that live stream, talking about what we're hyped up for the fest. And then the following Friday, we should have seen most of the fest. So that will be our live reactions to all of our favorite picks from Sundance. Eventually, we will be making the must-watch as well, of course, talking about our picks. But yeah. Look forward to a bunch of other videos. Thank you guys for joining the live stream. I'll answer some final thoughts over here. Mandalorian thoughts you're going to get very soon. I do enjoy it. I mentioned in the Disney video. Curb Your Enthusiasm is something that has been recommended to me so much. And I think season 10 is coming out. Thoughts on Mr. Robot. That was the show someone was telling me. I do want to make I'm only on season 1, believe it or not. But I do love what season 1 gave me. And I've heard crazy things about the rest of the show. And now that it's wrapped up, I do want to sit with it. Just go fully into it, all the interviews behind the scenes, and do a whole video on that, because that's a show. Sam Esmail knows how to handle a show. LOL, I know you love Loose, that's why I asked, because you haven't made a video on it. I had a video ready, and I ended up making the Parasite as well. So I see how y'all see it like that. But Loose, still one of the best. One of the best. Thoughts on the series Black Monday. I saw the first episode. I haven't been able to finish that one, but I know it's on Showtime. I pay for Showtime. Is it on Showtime? I think it's on Showtime. Either way, I'm paying for Showtime, and I'm not even watching any Showtime videos, movies, shows, anything. I'm going to answer 3 more. Let's see. Bro, have you watched Utoya July 22 yet? I have not. It is on my best of deck. Again, this is one of the reasons why I haven't finished those wrap-up ones yet. AMC Best Picture Marathon. AMC Best Picture Marathon ain't even showing 2 of the best pictures because they're on Netflix. And last one. Have you seen Life Itself? I have. I know it's on Amazon. That is a movie that I've had a video in the works on for a bit. The video, the title is Life Itself Has Too Many Twists. I don't hate the movie. I do like the movie, but it definitely has too many twists. On that, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.